Welcome to Insights for Manufacturing, a podcast that supports the UK manufacturing sector. Hosted by Jeff Beecham, the manufacturer's recruiter. Hello and welcome to Insights for Manufacturing. I'm delighted to welcome my guest today, Laura Crawford, who is the founder and editorial director of Machinery and Manufacturing, which is a magazine and website. So welcome to the show, Laura. How are you today?
I'm good. Thank you so much for inviting me on the show, Jeff. It's an absolute pleasure to be here. Thank you.
Yeah, you're very welcome. I understand, are you at the 12-month stage yet of the publication or business, or is that coming up shortly?
I am. In fact, actually, yesterday we went live with the 7th issue of Machinery and Manufacturing. So technically, we do 6 a year. So that kind of, that ticked us over into our year 2. So we have just gone through the first anniversary. We actually launched on the 10th of February. So I'm not classing our birthday celebrations until the 10th of Feb. So yeah, it's been exciting.
Great. Well, we'll talk more about the website and the magazine in a bit. Machinery and manufacturing are 2 of my 3 favourite work topics, the other being executive recruitment. What's the manufacturing sector got to do to get more people talking about it more positively? I mean, there's a number of exhibitions, websites, publications, lots of stuff going on, but there's still, I guess, a lot of negativity, which isn't helped by mainstream media. But, in terms of within the sector, what have people got to do to just create more of a sort of positive but real environment for us all to sort of thrive in?
I think, to be honest with you, Jeff, the problem isn't necessarily, as you say, it's not within the sector. If you speak to people within manufacturing, people are generally quite buoyant in business at the moment, happy, and most people that I tend to gravitate towards, I suppose, are very positive and active in terms of shouting about UK manufacturing. But we can do more. And I think, as you sort of touched upon, staying away from the mainstream media is one thing for us to ensure that our mindset remains positive. And as we know, positivity drives growth. But it's just speaking about it, isn't it? And just speaking to our friends, our family, our children. I think we're all a little bit guilty of not really speaking about our work lives at the pub at the weekend. And I must admit, in the last year or so, I've been doing this 20 years, but in the last year or so, since starting my own company, I've had more conversations with friends and family about work, just because they're a little bit intrigued. Yeah. And people's opinion is, manufacturing, how's that going then? But it's really tough. No, actually, it's a very buoyant market, and it's a huge contributor to the gross profit of the UK in general. So yes, I think the key is, to answer your question, we all just need to be more vocal, and you doing this fantastic podcast is another stream and way for us to speak about manufacturing and keep the word out there and at the forefront.
Yeah, it's almost like people in the sector typically talk about it all the time, but if you're not in manufacturing, it's almost off the radar for a lot of folk, because it's only really the huge companies that get any airtime on mainstream media, and you typically only get to hear about businesses that are laying off hundreds or thousands of people, or some of the huge companies that are expanding or winning an award or so. It just seems like the big players are the ones that get all the focus. But so that sort of leads me on to my next question, because I know you've got a huge passion for STEM and encouraging more youngsters to consider a career in manufacturing. So I've asked this question to quite a few people, but how do you think we can change the outdated assumptions and perceptions about manufacturing so that kids can get really excited about what can be a very rewarding and lucrative career choice?
Yeah, absolutely. It's something that we all, need to take responsibility for and, take action on. It's something that I'm really passionate about, as you've just said. I think again, we just need to involve these kids and expose them to manufacturing from a young age. My little boy he's only 7, and he wants to be an engineer. He's been telling me for a long time. He's very into machine tools. He's been brought up by me at home, and he
Yeah.
sat beside me with YouTube on for hours on end. But last week, his teacher pulled me aside because they were having a careers chat in class, and they got to Rory, and he said he wanted to be a baker. And his teacher actually pulled me aside to tell me this because she called him out on it and said, Rory, just because everyone else in this room is saying they want to be a hairdresser, a fireman, a chef, and things like that, she said, I thought you were going to be an engineer. You're an amazing young engineer. And he sat bolt upright and said, oh, I am. I do want to be an engineer. And just that conversation that I had with the head of the school made me realise, and she realised it in that moment, the conversation about manufacturing and engineering doesn't even go on within the classroom. It doesn't enter their head.
Yeah.
And of course, we need bakers, we need hairdressers, we need mechanics, we need firemen and teachers and nurses, and of course we need those roles. And just for the record, if he does become a baker, I'll support him and be really proud of him.
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
What I'm getting at is the conversation that I had with the head teacher, and she knows that I'm really, passionate about STEM and encouraging and inspiring kids from around this age into manufacturing and engineering. The fact that she felt the need to pull me aside and she had noticed it just reaffirms my, I guess it was an assumption to a degree because I'm not a teacher, that these kids just don't even know really what the options are. It's not a job that's discussed. And I think fundamentally we need to change that from the early years, your 7s, 8s, 9s, 10s. I mean, they're doing their 11 plus between the age of 10 and 11. And that determines what secondary school they go to. And I guess that kind of brings me on to, the university technology colleges that have amazing STEM equipment and facilities for children to go through young adulthood and into the apprenticeship schemes. But they need to be not making their mind up, that sounds ridiculous, but they need to be into the mindset from, I think, at least the age of 9, if you like. Can we do to encourage that? Well, speak about it again. Speak up. If anyone shares this opinion that I have about this, do you have these conversations with your head teacher at your local primary school? Do you challenge what STEM learning the children are doing? And if not, why not? That is kind of my take on it. We all need to take action, and by taking action, that can just be a 10-minute conversation, about STEM and engineering and encouraging people to do more.
Yeah. The other thing is, I was thinking then, just as you were talking, I mean, it's a long time ago since I was at school, clearly, but you get a sort of peer pressure, don't you? Whether it's in primary school or secondary school or at college. And the thing is, as you say, if the class as a whole isn't mentioning or talking about manufacturing or engineering at all, it's very difficult for them to grow a following for engineering and manufacturing. A lot of kids, some of them will be hell bent on, I want to be an astronaut, I want to be a doctor, I want to be a surgeon, I want to build houses, whatever it might be. And some children are very, very fixed in, they know what they want to do, or they think they do at that time, but they're very, very passionate about it. And it's hard to change their thoughts on that. And why would you? But if a lot of the kids are just talking about, and I don't want to belittle, working in a shop, being a hairdresser, working in an office, being a traffic warden, teacher, whatever it might be, a lot of kids will, Dave or Susan's doing, they want to become a doctor. So I think I want to become a doctor. Maybe peer pressure is not the right sort of terminology to use, but you get that. I suppose it's that social. It's not social proof either, but it's just that, you know, your mates are doing it, your classmates. I don't even know what that is. Oh, that sounds exciting. Working in the armed forces, or could be anything, couldn't it? I want to go into agriculture. Yeah, that's what I want to do, because his best mate or her best mates mentioned it. So that kids do follow other kids, don't they? So unless there are more options to talk about in the classroom, so unless that word and concept of engineering and manufacturing is being part of the conversation, nobody knows about it.
Exactly. But I was relying on Rory, and so was his teacher, by the sounds of it, you know, to be kind of saying to people.
Yeah.
I went to work with my mum last week, and I had to go on a Fanuc CRX cobot. Oh, what's that? Oh, well, it assists you in manufacturing. Oh, that sounds exciting, a robot, you know. I'm like, hang on a minute, where did that all kind of go?
Yeah.
And I can only, as you're just saying, you know, put it down to the fact that once he's in those four walls at school, everything that he shows at home or is interested in just kind of trickles away and doesn't come into conversation, which is a real shame, because I can tell you now, Rory won't be the only child that is potentially the next, you know, aerospace engineer or someone that's got a huge amount of potential. He struggles academically. I'm not going to lie. There are some children there that are absolute mathematicians that we need to be encouraging into engineering and manufacturing, you know. So yes, it's something that I feel passionately enough about that I'm going to spend the next 20 years trying to change. And you know, I'm taking it as serious as I possibly can, and I've decided to sort of reverse engineer the process of how I'm going to get where I need to be, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. I understand. I remember you mentioning before that you were going to be doing some mentoring. Is it at the Lee UTC in Dartford this year? Has that started yet?
Big up the Dartford. Yes, actually that has started, and I'm really like buzzing about it, like so proud to be there and be part of the amazing work that they're doing. It's actually the school that I went to from the age of 11 to 17. I left there 20 years ago, and yes, I got in touch with them and asked about their STEM learning and engineering T levels and so on, and I was invited in to have a chat, and before I know it, yes, I have taken on three young engineers. Two are female, one male, so that is
brilliant,
really cool as well. And actually, yeah, one of the girls that I'm working with, she is like absolutely phenomenal and really interested in an aerospace apprenticeship. So I'm really excited to see where her journey goes. But one of the reasons I got involved with the secondary school is that I thought, right, we have all identified that there is a problem here. You know, children aren't learning about manufacturing. Like we've just said, the younger years doesn't even come into conversation. And I thought, before I start throwing my weight around and making assumptions about what exactly needs changing in this, actually dealing with the year 13 just finishing their T levels, going on into apprenticeships, dealing with them closely and actually doing my own research, asking the students how they feel about manufacturing, and speaking to the teachers about what they understand is available, what is their perception of the manufacturing sector requiring skills and things. I need to understand that end of the scale before I can then work it back down and go, right, okay, well, where is the main problem here? Is it that the 18-year-olds aren't getting the apprenticeships? Is it that the manufacturers aren't being loud and proud enough about having the opportunity and needing the skills for these youngsters to feel wanted? I mean, come on, they feel wanted and that it's a good opportunity, then of course they're going to jump at the chance of earning 100. I don't know, I can't think off the top of my head, what is it, 120 or 104 pounds a week, earning while you're learning, kind of thing, and having a massive future ahead of them once they've done their apprenticeship, you know. So yes, I'm trying to sort of break it down and decipher the real pain points of where we need to make change. And then of course, hello, manufacturing world, this is what we all need to be doing. And I mean, there are some fantastic organisations that are working hard. I know Make UK do a lot to encourage youngsters and publicise what's going on. Obviously, we've got Marvellous Manufacturing that was launched last year by Angela, and I think, you know, she's going to start doing some amazing things. And I think, you know, I just really need to use my 20 years that I've been in this market and the platform created for machinery and manufacturing to be a platform to publicise all of that, so we can bring people together and encourage.
So Machinery and Manufacturing magazine and website, you know, it's a great platform. You could, you know, provide an update, you know, every quarter or something, you know, within the magazine and the website on how this mentoring and work promoting STEM is going. Is that part of your sort of plans at the moment, Laura?
Yeah, possibly. We've got a page that's dedicated to training and education actually already on the website. So I tend to promote any apprenticeship news, any kind of training news. If the AMRC or the MTC have done something, someone is invested. If a training centre has opened, obviously last week we had the Incom training centre open in Telford, which was massive news, and we publicised that. And I mean, even in terms of sort of interviews and snippets with apprentices, I should say. Yes, we do a lot to publicise that. In terms of me being open about my mentoring that I'm doing, I do want to write about it, and I've got a lot to say about it, and I'm just trying to decipher the best way to go about it. It might even be in the way of a blog. By the time this podcast airs, I might have gone live with a blog already, and I also need to discuss with the Lee how much I'm allowed to speak about.
Absolutely.
Obviously, I have mentioned, they know that I work in media, they know I'm an editor. I was welcome to take photos and videos when I was there, as long as there weren't any students in the shots. I did say if I was to speak about any of my experiences with the students, as long as I don't name their names, is that okay? And they've said yes, fine. So I just think it's something that I feel is going to kind of have a continuation, really. So yeah, I think it's going to be more of a blogged LinkedIn sort of article style.
Great. Well, I look forward to look forward to reading about that when it's ready. Now, you and I met at the NEC last year, didn't we? At one of the exhibitions. I think it was Advanced Engineering. I got out to I don't know 3 or 4 of the exhibitions, and I know you were doing your rounds. Publication and the website was still fairly new, so you've got, you know, all of that under your belt now. Have you found the events of the last sort of 12 months, you know, a big advantage in terms of promoting machinery and manufacturing?
Absolutely.
Absolutely
brilliant. I think we were all ready to be back out at events. The event circuit is absolutely booming. MAC 2022 was amazing. You know, that was really our launch, I guess. Really, we'd launched in the February the 10th. We went live with the first magazine, and I hadn't actually done a show and made a proud sort of song and dance about exactly who we were and what we were doing until MAC. So that went really well. Everyone that was there seemed ready to do business. Proud to be there, pleased to be back shaking hands. There wasn't any of this dancing around, not really knowing what to do anymore, you know, because it was a bit strange for an event back on after the pandemic, and people didn't really know how to behave. So yes, that went really well. I visited quite a few throughout the course of the year, as you probably saw from my posts on social media and whatnot. TCT was a really busy event. I didn't actually exhibit at TCT, but my goodness, in the last 3-4 years, how additive manufacturing and 3D printing has just absolutely exploded. You know, that blows my mind a little bit, really. So that was a really great show to go to. And they're all just getting such great footfall at the moment. So yes, I have certainly found that they've been worth exhibiting or attending in terms of networking. And I'm just a little bit of a geek, really. I love to see things in action, and I really like to see my customers and their customers being positive about manufacturing and doing business together. You know, it's great to see real conversations taking place and business being done, hands being shaken, you know, on the stands again. So yes, cool.
Absolutely. And I was chatting, well, it was only yesterday actually, to James Selker, the CEO of the Manufacturing Technologies Association, who run MAC, and we were having a conversation about additive manufacturing as well, you know, and how that's really, you know, come on leaps and bounds, and it's the potential for that technology, you know, outside of the, you know, what most people were seeing as a, you know, as generally for like rapid prototyping and stuff when it first came onto the market. But you know, there's now hopes that it, you know, can be adapted more for, you know, certain applications for volume manufacturing in the future as well. So it's really, really interesting, and I'm really looking forward to MAC 24 next year, and some of the other exhibitions this year. So there's a good feeling.
It's an exciting time. I went along to Farnborough Air Show last July, and to see Rolls-Royce 3D printing turbine blades for their big fan that they'd launched. Wow, absolutely amazing. Great technology being used, and for Rolls-Royce to be adopting the additive manufacturing route, just, I think, really pioneers the fact that, although it's been around a while, I feel like this is really the next beginning, if you like, for exactly where we're going to see those kind of technologies go. So yes, MAC 24, as you've just said, really gearing up to that now, and it's going to be interesting to see what kind of new tech comes through. And I dare say there will be more 3D printers and additive manufacturing going on, along with obviously robotics is a huge area at the moment as well, isn't it? So yeah, you'll be at the show. Will you be at the show all week, Jeff?
Not sure at the moment. It's too far in the future, but I'll certainly be there for one of the days. Luckily, it's only just up the road from where I live in Birmingham, so the NEC is fairly local. So I'll say to James Selker yesterday, I could have done a day and a half or 2 days last year, because I was quite strategic in terms of who I wanted to see, but I still didn't end up getting round and doing everything that I wanted to do. So I might, if workload permits, and it may or may not at that time, you know, I'll try and spend a little bit more time at MAC, because like you, I'm, you know, capital equipment, any sort of plant and machinery. I mean, I love manufacturing anyway, but certainly from an equipment and plant point of view, I'm all over that. It's just fascinating. So we've spoken about that. You know, you're almost a year into M&M magazine and website. How did you get into this sector in the first place? I know you've got a sort of former career, you know, with other businesses. So, you know, what made you get into this sort of environment in the first place?
I know, right? It's a long time ago, 20 years ago. So it kind of went along the lines of, I was halfway through my AS levels, and my family were hoping for me to be the first in the family to go to university and whatnot. So I took on a summer job at Wilmington Publishing, and they are now the Connecting Industry magazines. I took on a summer job there between maybe the June and what was meant to be the end of August, and landed myself a sales job selling advertorials, actually. So it's kind of like my job's almost gone 360. I was doing my A-level English. I've always been a words person, and I was selling and editing editorials or incoming press releases into advertorials about manufacturing. The connected industry books back then were all areas of manufacturing. So it might be that someone had a new PCB printer, or right down to sort of a new semiconductor or a component sensor that was going into a piece of instrumentation, all the way through to the early sort of stages of robotics and controls and things. And I just absolutely fell in love with it. I remember the conversation coming home and saying, I'm not going back to finish the rest of my A-levels off. And there were some interesting conversations with the family. Obviously, back then I was 17. And I've always been quite strong-willed. So I didn't sort of give them a chance. And I remember actually saying, like, this, I'm in deep, like, this is me. I've found my path. At the time, I felt that way. Did I think that 20 years later I would have gone through maybe 3 different large publishers, worked my way up through the ranks as, you know, advertising, sales manager, and then on to sort of sales director level? Probably not, but here we are. I think in terms of CNC machining and manufacturing, I've been in this market for, I'd say about 15 years. So I did quite a long stretch with Machinery magazine, and it holds a you know, a place in my heart and always will. They're over 110 years old, I would say now. So you know, a massive staple within the manufacturing news world, if you like, really. Yeah, I guess I just got to the stage where post-pandemic kind of sat back and thought to myself, hang on a minute, I've got some ideas here. I've got some ideas that other people aren't doing. And I think I just need to, you know, kind of put my money where my mouth is, if you like, really, and make these changes and move forward into the market with something new. And just kind of give it a go, really. So yeah, Machinery and Manufacturing was born in maybe October of 2021. I really kind of got the gist that, okay, this is going to happen. I'd left my previous job after the pandemic and thought I'd have a little bit of time with my little girl. And as soon as I decided to do that, the thought of not really knowing my place and where I was going to pop back up within the machine tool world drove me crazy. But hey, it ignited or fueled the fire that was already there, I guess, really, to launch Machinery and Manufacturing. So well,
that's a great story. And you know, clearly you've got a passion for publishing. You've got a passion for the technology, the sector itself. It absolutely makes sense that you're doing what you're doing for your own business. And, you know, as an industry, you know, manufacturing and engineering needs good information, data, you know, people like you and some of the other publishers to, you know, to be informative, to be creative and give people within the sector the sort of content that they're looking for. So from an M&M perspective, I'm thinking of chocolates now. Don't want to fall foul of any copywriting laws.
Be careful, Jeff. Be careful.
Machinery manufacturing. I've probably got the copyright on chocolate anyway. I eat enough of it. But machinery manufacturing, in terms of your readers or your readers, customers, what sort of feedback have they been giving you in terms of what they want to see in the magazine? I mean, I've had a few copies. It's a great format. You know, it's a great read. I love the A5 in the, you know, the printed version, but the website's brilliant. It's dynamic, it's colourful, lots of good topics on there. But what are people telling you? This is what we want, or can we have more of this? Or what sort of feedback are you getting from the people out there?
Oh, I've had fantastic feedback from people. I mean, the fact that obviously we want to stay current, informative, and technical to a degree, so that engineers have got something to get their teeth into if there's a new product, or a case study that is particularly technically different to something else. Obviously, we want to make sure we satisfy the appetite for that. But funnily enough, the best sort of read views that we get and the things that we are asked for more are interviews and conversations. I think we're all just so sort of cooped away, weren't we, during the pandemic? People are so much more open to be either watching or listening to a podcast, and or reading an interview between 2 or 3 people. Conversation, I guess, is the thing that people are after. They want to know about, okay, you've got a new product that's come to market, but I don't just necessarily want to know the facts about this product. I'd like to hear someone talking to me about it in application, and instead of the old traditional way of, oh, this is this and it does that, you need to purchase this to enable you to increase your profits, to break the barriers down and make it a really personal. I kind of want the magazine to feel like an experience instead of just a magazine, if that makes sense. I try and put as much of my personality into it as possible. I might be a bit Marmite, so whether that's the right thing to do or not, I don't know. But the one thing I will say is that people just want to see personality come across in content these days. And going back to inspiring the younger generation, I know you mentioned the fact that my website is bright, colourful, or fresh, or the term that you used,
dynamic.
Dynamic. Okay, we'll say dynamic. Yeah, the bright colours, the way that it fits in well with your social media, it's noticed. I'm going to be doing this for at least the next 20 years, and I think technology is moving on at a pace where social media is ever important, and to inspire some of the youngsters to actually click the links and go, oh, I am going to read about that. I don't know, aerospace story, or a BAE apprentice that's just won an award. I wanted to make it as attractive as possible across the board for not just the younger generation, obviously, but we all know that their heads are turned by these bright Instagram kind of colours and short videos and things. It's just the way of the world now, isn't it, Jeff? Really?
And interestingly, I mean, when you were describing that, I was thinking of 3 things. I was thinking of connection. After lockdowns and things like that, people want to feel connection, interaction, and collaboration. I mean, those 3 words they're so powerful. No matter what field you're in, whether it's engineering or finance, wherever you are in the world, or even socially, we're human beings. We like to be around other people. We like to learn from other people, and having that interaction. And as you say, making the magazine. This is what I loved about what you said. Making the magazine or the website an experience, rather than just a load of text and pictures to look at and read. People want to feel that they're part of the whole sector, which engineers and manufacturers do. They're all in this together. But I think it's refreshing actually to see or hear a publisher talk about their product in that way. It's not, you're not from where I'm sitting, you haven't set up this business just as a transactional thing to make money. You clearly have a passion for it. you're creative, and you want everybody to be, contributing and feeling involved. And I think that's a great place to be at, really. So well done you for
Thanks, Jeff.
your philosophy on that.
I've worked in publishing for long enough to have known that it wasn't a case of set up a magazine and buy myself a Ferrari a week later. Let's just say that. And actually, any profits that were made last year were completely reinvested back into, the company and the platform. This is just the very beginning for me. And again, being able to just afford the time to be able to be on a podcast and not sat worrying about selling something, spending a couple of days a month with youngsters and speaking about engineering. That, to me, is more successful, having a good product that's able to provide me the time to be able to give something back. Actually, for me, currently, that is what I kind of class as having made it a success.
Well, that resonates really strongly with me. I mean, it's very, very similar to my own situation. As you know, my day job with the business, Authentic Resourcing, I'm an executive headhunter. So, that's how I make a living. But the podcast, it's not a commercial thing. It's a side gig, if you like. It was never meant to be a huge platform for my business in recruitment. But I love doing it. I love being connected to people, talking about things without either party being under any pressure to sell or be convinced to be interested in a product or service. It's all value added stuff for the manufacturing and engineering community. And actually doing the work that I do, sometimes it does give me time to do other things like this. I've also taken on a mentor myself. So it's really nice, to have, people talk a lot about work-life balance, don't they? I mean, I think if you're an entrepreneur, if you're running your own business, you have to do it because you love doing it, because you don't get the holidays or the paid holidays that people in employment do. The buck stops with you, and if there are problems, you got to deal with them yourself. And that these are the benefits. We can, or I certainly like to arrange my time and my diary, clearly around customers and live assignments first, but then try and fit in some of this other stuff like the podcast that is really there to help other people. So I love the fact that you're doing that. Kindred spirits, I think. So Laura, it's been a fantastic discussion with you today. Just got time to ask you one more question, and that will be around, what else is planned for this year? I know you're doing the mentoring. We've got events. The magazine and website will continue to develop. Is there anything special that you've got in the pipeline specifically that you'd like to talk about?
Our first birthday on the 10th of Feb. That's going to be, in terms of my little team that I've managed to build, that's the short-term kind of date on the diary, really. We will be having a glass of fizz or two, and we will be eating cake.
Yeah, good.
So yeah, that's going to be great to celebrate that. Next week is Southern Manufacturing, so really excited about that one. I'm absolutely blown away with the amount of people that are on the exhibitor list this time. I think they have done an absolute sterling effort of putting together such a great show, and I'm absolutely buzzed to be there. In terms of what's going to be new for us, as I said, I'm looking at starting my journey into some kind of education blog, or skills blog, we should say. We're growing. I think when I started, it was me and one other. I've now got a team of 6, including myself, working on machines and manufacturing. They're not all full-time employees, but still a team of 6 working towards expanding and growing the magazine further. and just really gearing up for, I guess, advanced engineering at the end of the year.
Yeah.
How crazy is that? We're on February now. It's 6 months away, and I'll be out the other side of the school holidays and into the next show. And then, of course, after that, it will be time to start planning MAC 2024.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, I'm really excited about this year. Thank you so much for letting me come on and chat to you, Jeff. I really appreciate you having me. And yeah, I guess from a personal point of view, the thing that's really new and important this year is going to be all around skills, understanding this fundamental gap we've got going on between the education and employment world in manufacturing that apprenticeships fit in, and trying to just get a grip of how we can inspire these youngsters. That is my mission for the year. And interestingly, when I was sat with my mentees last week, they're not really sure that the manufacturing sector wants them. How sad is that?
Yeah. Well, that says it all, doesn't it?
UTC. They go to a UTC. They're using HAS vertical machining centres. They've got a plasma cutter. A laser cutter. They're using water jet cutting machines. They've got 20 lathes for metal working, vertical mills. They're living their end of school life in metalworking. Their projects are all based around metalworking. Yet when I asked all three of them, do you think there's opportunity for you? Do you think there are apprenticeships out there? And their answers were, I'm not really sure. Now that, to me, says it's the manufacturing company that wants the apprentice. Us as the manufacturing sector, we're the ones that need to be making more of a song and dance. So there we go. Yeah,
that's a good point. And, you know, there's lots for all of us to do to support that and get the word out. So thank you so much for your insights today. It's been a great episode. I've really enjoyed our discussion. So that wraps up today's episode. I hope our listeners and viewers have enjoyed our discussion. Thanks again to Laura Crawford from Machinery and Manufacturing magazine. Thank you for listening, and look out for the next episode of Insights for Manufacturing. See you next time, and bye-bye.